Stop me if you've heard this one before. A man wakes up one morning, he looks outside. It's raining. He thinks, I should collect some of this water, use it for my garden, save some money, help the environment. He sets up some tanks. He collects rainwater. Normal, right? Wrong. The government finds out. They show up at his door, they arrest him, they put him in jail, and they fine him $1,500 for collecting rainwater on his own property. This is not a joke. This is not a movie. This actually happened in Oregon. Today I'm telling you the story of Gary Harrington, a man who was sentenced to jail for doing something that most of us would consider completely harmless. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to ask yourself, who actually owns the rain? Let me introduce you to Gary Harrington. Gary is a resident of Medford, Oregon. He lives in the southwest part of the state. Beautiful area. Lots of trees, lots of rain. Gary is not a criminal. He's not a rebel. He's not trying to fight the system. He's just a normal guy who wanted to collect rainwater. Now here's the thing about Oregon. It rains there. A lot. The average annual precipitation in Oregon is around 42 inches per year. That's a lot of water falling from the sky. Gary looked at all that rain and thought, why let it go to waste? I can collect it, store it, use it for my garden, maybe for my property. So he set up some reservoirs on his property. We're not talking about a few buckets here. Gary collected a significant amount, 13 million gallons of water, creating 3 reservoirs on his land. And he wasn't hurting anyone. He wasn't stealing from anyone. He was just catching rain. Or so he thought. Here's where it gets crazy. Gary's collecting rainwater. He's not doing anything illegal. Or so he thinks. But the city of Medford has a problem with it. And what's their problem? They say that the water belongs to them. Let me read you something. Medford has a law from 1925. It says the city has the exclusive right to use for municipal purposes all the waters of Big Butte Creek and of its tributaries. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what does that have to do with rainwater? Here's how the city saw it. Rain is a main source of water for the city. It falls, it flows into creeks and rivers, and it eventually becomes water that belongs to the city. So the city's argument was, if you collect rainwater, you're stopping it from reaching the creek, and since the creek belongs to us, you're stealing our water. Let that sink in. The city claimed ownership of the rain before it even hit the ground. This isn't a joke. This was the city's actual legal argument. They took Gary to court. Gary Harrington was arrested. He was taken to court, and he was sentenced to jail. Yes, you heard that right. Jail for collecting rainwater. He was fined $1,500. The state water department backed the city up. An official said that if you interrupt the flow of water on your property, that is an activity that would require a water permit from us. Think about that. You need a permit to catch rain on your own roof. Gary wasn't the only one. In Oregon, the law at the time basically said, the state owns the rain. The city's argument was simple. Rain is the main source of their water. So when Gary collected it, he was taking water that should have gone to the city. Gary went to jail. He was fined. His life was turned upside down, all because he caught rain. Now let's be fair here. Gary wasn't just collecting a few rain barrels. He had reservoirs. He collected 13 million gallons of water. But here's the important question. Was he hurting anyone? Let's think about the science. In Oregon, rain falls from October to May. The summer months are dry. So Gary was collecting water during the wet season and using it during the dry season. He wasn't stealing from anyone. He wasn't depriving anyone of water. He was just saving what nature gave him. And here's the thing. Rainwater harvesting is actually good for the environment. It reduces runoff, prevents pollution, and saves water for dry months. But the city didn't care about any of that. They saw a law from 1925 and decided to enforce it. And Gary paid the price. Here's where the story takes a turn. After the Harrington case, Oregon realized how absurd this was. They revised their water laws. Today, homeowners in Oregon are allowed to harvest rainwater, but only from their rooftop. So the state finally admitted, yes, you can catch rain, but only if it falls on your roof, not if you collect it in reservoirs, not if you collect it on a large scale. Now compare this to other states. Colorado used to make rainwater harvesting completely illegal before 2009. You could be fined $500 per rain barrel. Today they allow it, but only up to 110 gallons per household. Nevada? It's still a misdemeanor to collect rain there. The state engineer has determined that even the smallest amount of water collection is illegal. So Oregon changed, but many states still have crazy laws about rain. So, let's stop here for a moment and really think about what happened to Gary Harrington. He didn't break into anyone's house. He didn't steal from anyone. He didn't hurt anyone. He just caught rain. Water, falling from the sky, for free. And the government put him in jail. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but he collected 13 million gallons. That's a lot. Maybe there's something to the city's argument. Let me ask you this. If you have a garden and you put out a barrel to collect rain for your plants, should you go to jail? If you have a farm and you build a pond to catch rainwater for your animals, should you be arrested? Where do you draw the line? The city of Medford drew the line at 0. They said, every drop of rain belongs to us, even before it hits the ground. Think about that logic. That would mean if you have a roof and it rains and water runs off your roof into your yard, you're stealing from the city. That's not justice. That's absurdity. And here's the thing. This isn't just an Oregon problem. This is happening all over the American West. In Colorado, rainwater harvesting was completely illegal until 2009. You could be fined $500 per rain barrel. In Nevada, it's still a misdemeanor to collect rain. The state engineer literally said that even the smallest amount of water collection is illegal. Why? Because of something called the prior appropriation doctrine. Fancy legal term. Here's what it actually means. First in time, first in right. Whoever claimed the water first owns it. And in the American West, almost all the water was claimed over 100 years ago, so every drop of water is already owned by someone, by the government, by big agriculture, by corporations. And if you collect rain on your own property, you're technically stealing. That's the system Gary was up against, a system that treats water like gold, a system that says, you can't have it, even if it falls from the sky on your own land. Let me read you something the Oregon Water Resources Department said. They said, if you interrupt the flow of water, listen to this, that is an activity that would require a water permit from us. Interrupt the flow of water on your own property, in your own backyard. That means if you dig a hole and it fills with rain, you interrupted the flow of water. You need a permit. If you build a pond and it fills with rain, you need a permit. If you put out a bucket on your porch, technically you need a permit. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I know one thing. This makes no sense. Rain falls from the sky. It's a natural resource. It's literally free. But the government told Gary Harrington, not for you. That water belongs to us. So Gary fought back. He spent years in court. He spent money he didn't have. He went to jail. And what did he get? Nothing. Except a lesson. The system doesn't care if you're right. It cares about who owns the water. And in Oregon, the city owned the water, even the rain. So let me ask you one last question. Should you be allowed to collect rain on your own property? Or does the state own the water falling from the sky? I don't know about you, but I think Gary did nothing wrong. But the system saw it differently. And that's the real story here. Not just about rain, about power, about who controls the basic things we need to live. If you made it this far, you're the real MVP. Hit that like button, subscribe for more crazy legal stories, and comment below. Should Gary have gone to jail? Yes or no? I'll read your answers in the next video. Take care, stay dry, and maybe don't collect rain in Oregon.